afternoon, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Today on Newsfeed at noon, detained former President Rodrigo Duterte rejecting any plans to sell his home in Davao City. President Bongbong Marcos rings the bell at the Philippine Stock Exchange. The world's richest man, Elon Musk, vows to unseat lawmakers who support U.S. President Donald Trump's spending bill. And Fil-Am Jordan Clarkson and the Utah Jazz reach a deal to buy out his contract. Thanks for joining us. We begin with detained former President Rodrigo Duterte firmly rejecting any plan to sell his home in Davao City. That's according to his son, Davao 1st District Representative Paulo Duterte, who recently visited the former president in The Hague. The younger Duterte said the house in Doña Luisa Village holds sentimental value for his father, as it is the first home he bought with his own money. Congressman Duterte also clarified the house is different from what FPRRD's partner, Honeylet Avancenia, previously said is for sale. A for sale sign was seen on the property over the weekend, but has since been removed. On to a developing story this morning. Local poll officials in Marikina are said to be refusing to proclaim Congressman-elect Marcy Toddoro. Josh Malimban joins us on the line for the full story. Josh, what's happening?
The local Commission on Elections office in Marikina City is refusing to proclaim 1st District Representative-elect Marcy Toddoro, despite the issuance of a certificate of finality by the Comelec Anbank earlier today. Toddoro said he has been at the Marikina Comelec office since 8:30 a.m. but was informed that a resolution is still needed to convene the City Board of Canvassers. On June 25, the Comelec Anbank granted Teodoro's motion for reconsideration and ordered this proclamation. His rival, former Senator Coco Pimentel, earlier said he will elevate the case to the Supreme Court. However, with no temporary restraining order issued by the High Court within 5 days, the Comelec declared its decision final and immediately executory. The Comelec has yet to issue an official statement on whether Teodoro's proclamation will push through today. Mai.
We'll keep us posted, Josh, and thank you for that report. President Bongbong Marcos leads a special bell-ringing ceremony at the Philippine Stock Exchange. Let's get the details from Byebye Reyes, who joins us now from Malacanang. Byebye, go ahead.
President Bongbong Marcos headed a historic first for the Philippine market as the Capital Market Efficiency Promotions Act, or CIMEPA, takes effect today. Signed into law in May this year, CIMEPA lowers the stock transaction tax, or STT, from 0.6% to 0.1% and the documentary stamp tax on stock shares from 1% to 0.75%. Under this law, the country's capital market proves more accessible due to a revamped tax system on passive income, making it, as the Finance Department said, more investor-friendly. Philippine Stock Exchange President Ramon Monzon said that this milestone is an invitation for Filipinos to invest their hard-earned money in stocks than to lose to online gambling. Government-owned controlled corporations, or GOCCs, are also now subjected to the same tax rates as other entities. A uniform tax rate of 0.75% is imposed on bonds and debentures. The Philippines, or the documentary stamp tax on PCSO bettors, has also been removed because, according to the DOF, this signals discouragement for those participating in legal gaming activities, which in turn generate revenue for public services. Meanwhile, the president also led the 78th founding anniversary of the Philippine Air Force in Villamor Air Base this morning. Outstanding Air Force units and personnel were recognized for their efforts and contribution to national service. Mai.
Byebye, going back to the Capital Markets Efficiency Promotions Act, what are its implications on business and investment competitiveness?
Well, Mai, this signifies the Philippines' commitment to the Ease of Doing Business Act of 2018, or the government's approach to upscaling the country's performance in the international business scene by revamping investment regulations and measures to attract more investors to the market. Mai.
Thank you, Byebye Reyes, reporting to us live from the Villamor Air Base. Tensions between Manila and Beijing escalate once again, this time over illegal drugs. A Philippine military official has floated the possibility that China is deliberately dumping illegal drugs into Philippine seas, a claim that drew a sharp rebuke from the Chinese embassy. The details from Francis Folve.
China and the Philippines once again exchanging barbs. This comes amid the continuing conflict over disputed territories in the West Philippine Sea and a series of recoveries of methamphetamine or shabu in Philippine waters that reportedly bear Chinese markings and are suspected to have come from China. In a statement, the Chinese embassy in Manila denied what it called malicious and baseless accusations by some Philippine military personnel on issues related to Beijing. The embassy was referring to remarks made by AFP spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Rear Admiral Roy Vincent Trinidad. Last June 24, he said that it is possible that China deliberately spread tons of illegal drugs into Philippine waters to destroy the future of Filipino youth.
Historically, there have been instances of large holes of illicit drugs apprehended in the maritime domain, confiscated in our seas that had markings that appear to be Chinese characters. We don't have to look far. From the side of law enforcement, they look for evidence. On the military, we look for indicators. It appears that it is not far-fetched that this could be another effort of the Chinese Communist Party to undermine the future generation of Filipinos upang sirain ang kinabukasan ng isang bansa, buhusan mo ng maraming illicit na droga, illegal na droga, para ang kabataan ay masisira ang tamang pag-iisip. Hindi malayo na gagawin sa atin o ginagawa sa atin yan.
In response, Beijing said they are one of the countries with strong anti-drug policies and they also claim to have one of the best counter-narcotics track records in the world. China added that both countries are even partners in fighting drugs and other transnational crimes. Defense Secretary Byebye City was also not spared after he said no country in ASEAN is subjected in all fronts by China but the Philippines. The Chinese embassy countered that such statements do not help the country's problems and would affect the resolution of maritime disputes. They urged the defense leader to stop attacking China and instead take the true path of dialogue and consultation. To this, Secretary Byebye City responded.
Pag nahuli ang China, ang sagot nila lagi ay buga, no? Buga. Yung mabuga at ngunit yan na lang ang ginagawa nila palagi. Ngunit itong buga na ito ng China, dahil nahuli sila, hindi galing sa bibig ito. Galing sa ibang parte ng katawan na bumubuga, hindi sa bibig.
Earlier this month, AFP Chief of Staff General Romeo Browner Jr. also called out a China-owned media outlet for spreading what he described as propaganda videos against him during the Shangri-La dialogue in Singapore. Such propaganda, he said, aims to discredit the AFP and undermine the country's position in the West Philippine Sea. Francis Folve, Bellionario News Channel.
Veteran diplomat Maria Teresa Lazaro takes her oath as Foreign Affairs Secretary. President Bongbong Marcos also conferred the Order of Sikatuna Grand Cross to Lazaro in recognition of her 4 decades of public service. Lazaro replaces Enrique Manalo, who was reappointed as Philippine Permanent Representative to the UN. Lazaro previously held other senior roles in the DFA, including Undersecretary for Bilateral Relations and ASEAN Affairs and Ambassador to France and Switzerland. The 20th Congress is off to a running start, and so are the lawmakers pushing their own legislative priorities. Hannah T. joins us now live from the Senate for the details. Hannah.
Mai, the 20th Congress is just getting started, but the first round of filings show a wide range of legislative priorities, from good governance to welfare and even to marijuana legalization. Senator Robin Padilla leads his lineup with his push to allow medical access to cannabis. His bill expands research into its use and lays down penalties for violations. This has been filed in the previous Congress but remains unacted upon. He also also filed a bill that seeks to define and prohibit political dynasties, a hotly debated issue that has long been called out but never enforced through law. Meanwhile, Senator Erwin Tulfo is taking aim at potential conflicts of interest in government. Included in his priority bills is a push for banning elected officials and their immediate family members from owning, controlling, or having any financial interest in public utilities while in office.
This is serious. Okay? This is an issue. Tali ang kamay ng gobyerno pag yung may-ari ng utility sa isang lugar ay isang government official, isang politiko, isang mayor, governor, what have you, congressman.
Officials who fail to divest within 60 days may face a fine, forfeiture of interests, or dismissal if done in bad faith. Family members who help conceal or benefit from the conflict may also be disqualified from public office. And as a consistent education advocate, Senator Bam Aquino returns to the Senate with a mission: fix the education crisis. Aquino is zeroing in on students, teachers, and schools with proposals ranging from free training to digital support. Higher pay for teachers, digital textbooks, and load discounts are on the table. Senator Joel Villanueva's bills, meanwhile, focus on workers' rights, OFW welfare, and anti-corruption reforms. He also filed a bill to ban all forms of online gambling and warns against its addictive nature and easy access through payment apps.
Bisyo na nagpo-promote ng greed, bisyo na nagpo-promote ng instant result na kailangan pagtaya mo, mananalo ka, huwag ka nang magsipag, huwag ka nang mag-aral, tumaya ka na lang ng tumaya. So ito yung dahilan kung bakit natin na pinupush ito.
And the Senate leader unveils a bold agenda. In Senate President Chis Escudero's top 10 bills, he wants to end secrecy in public service. He filed a bill requiring all government officials to waive their rights under the bank secrecy law. The measure mandates a written permission to open their bank accounts and investments. Escudero has been pushing this since early 2000s, and this initiative has been evolving through different Senate terms, but it has yet to become law. Mai?
All right, Hannah, let's go to the recent 50 peso wage increase in the NCR. And for sure, senators already know about this. Have any senators stepped up to file a bill for a more meaningful pay increase for workers?
Yes, actually several senators have already filed measures on wage increases. First of all, first on the list is, of course, Senator Joel Villanueva, who pushes for a living wage. That's a system where wage boards must set pay based on decent living standards. Senator Bongo seeks a 100 peso across the board daily wage hike for private workers, and Senator Robin Padilla wants a 150 peso minimum wage increase throughout the private sector. Back to you, Mai.
Thank you. Hannah T. reporting live from the Senate. After 2 weeks in hospital, detained former lawmaker Arnie Teves is set to be discharged today. Teves underwent an appendectomy at the Philippine General Hospital. His legal counsel, Ferdinand Topacio, says his client is still experiencing some abdominal pains and will remain under medical watch. Prior to this development, Teves' arraignment before a Manila court was moved from June 30th to July 14th to allow more time for his recovery. Teves has been under custody of the BJMP at Camp Bagong Diwa in Taguig. He faces murder charges in connection with the killing of Negros Oriental Governor Roel de Gamo and 9 others in 2023. Fresh off his political comeback, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno leads a cleanup drive in the city. Moreno personally inspected clearing operations along Recto Avenue and several streets in Divisoria. Nearly 2,000 metric tons of garbage were collected in the first 10 hours of cleanup. On Monday, the mayor revealed the previous local administration left a staggering 961 million peso debt to waste contractors. Moreno vows to hold those responsible accountable if corruption is proven. The world's richest man back on the offensive. Elon Musk vows to unseat lawmakers who continue to back U.S. President Donald Trump's spending bill, a measure that ripped apart his bromance with the American leader. After weeks of silence following his public spat with Trump, Musk resumed his criticisms as the U.S. Senate tackled the bill. The tech billionaire once led the Department of Government Efficiency, tasked by Trump to eliminate red tape and wasteful spending in government. He had spent nearly $300 million on Trump's re-election campaign. A bold statement from Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu amid the country's war with Iran. In a speech before Israeli army officials, Netanyahu claimed the Middle East would collapse without Israel.
They have essentially built three paths to destruction. First, the choke ring, a plan to destroy Israel through the Axis. Second, a plan to destroy Israel through missile threats. Third, a plan to destroy Israel through a nuclear threat. This is the raison d'etre of the regime. It's not the only reason they want to destroy us, and we are not their main target. But in order to achieve their main goals, they must eliminate us. You can't conquer the Middle East without destroying Israel. And if Israel ceases to exist, the Middle East collapses immediately.
Israel launched airstrikes on June 13, targeting Iranian nuclear facilities and killing top military commanders as well as civilians. Iran retaliated with its own missile attacks. The U.S. eventually launched its own airstrike into Iran before a ceasefire took effect last week. No verdict reached on the first day of jury deliberations in the sex crimes trial of disgraced music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. Combs faces a possible life sentence for allegedly forcing his former girlfriends to take part in drug-fueled sexual acts. The 55-year-old former billionaire has pleaded not guilty to charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Two of his former girlfriends, Filipino-American Cassie Ventura and a woman known in court as Jane, had testified against him. Combs has been in jail in Brooklyn since his arrest in September last year. We're taking a break. Up ahead, Wimbledon defending champ Carlos Alcaraz overcomes a first-round scare to advance in the tournament. That and more when Newsfeed at Noon returns. You're back on Newsfeed at Noon. In sports, all eyes once again on Filipino tennis phenom Alex Ayala as she's set for her main draw debut at Wimbledon tonight. The 20-year-old star opens her campaign at center court against defending champ Barbora Krejcikova. That match is scheduled at 8:30 p.m. Philippine time. The Rafa Nadal Academy graduate is currently ranked women's world number 56. Ayala is fresh off an incredible run at the Eastbourne Open, where she became the first Filipino to reach a WTA final. Meanwhile, a tough start for defending champ Carlos Alcaraz in his title defense at Wimbledon. The Spanish superstar braved the heat and edged out a tenacious Fabio Fognini in his opening match. It took 5 pressure-packed sets that lasted 4 hours. Temperatures at center court reached 32 degrees Celsius, with the last set even getting interrupted after a spectator became unwell and required assistance.
I could feel today that I was really nervous, at the beginning. Being the first match on center court it's a huge privilege for me, even though that I played last year the first match. So it is it feels the first time. I just try to deal with the nerves the best way possible. I think battling the heat, the hot, I think is one of the things that we have to do. And probably other, the match can be in a way in another way because of the hot. So I think we have to deal with it in the best way possible obviously for the fan. And I think even here in London, they are not really used to having this weather and sitting 5 hours in the stand without moving, and the sun hitting, I think could be really difficult to deal with for the spectators. But we're playing in an outdoor tournament, so I think that the roof shouldn't be closed because of it.
In the NBA, Jordan Clarkson and the Utah Jazz reach a deal to buy out his contract as he looks to join a title contender. The 33-year-old Fil-Am guard reportedly leaves behind a $14.3 million deal after a foot injury limited him to just 37 games last season. Clarkson averaged 16.2 points in his latest campaign with Utah. The New York Knicks are reportedly among those interested. The Jazz, meanwhile, are clearing $30 million in luxury tax space as they go all in on the young talent. In entertainment, Katherine, Bernardo, and Alden Richards spark feud rumors once again. The two were hailed phenomenal box office queen and king of Philippine cinema at the recent 53rd Box Office Entertainment Awards. Katherine, however, did not attend the event, while Alden did not acknowledge or mention her during his acceptance speech. This comes amid continuing speculations that Alden failed to date his Hello, Love Again co-star in real life. Earlier this year, the two also drew concerns from Katherine fans after they appeared to ignore each other on stage during a fashion event. But a video later emerged showing them being touchy backstage. Now, have you ever wanted to get away from your family because of how toxic they can be? That's what a new Filipino film produced by Oji Diaz wants to unpack. It tells the story of a hardworking OFW who slaved away to earn money for his family, only for them to stab him in the back. On Billionaire News Channel's It's a Beautiful Day, Diaz shared some real-life inspirations.
Somehow, meron din akong contribution dito bilang ako rin yung breadwinner, ako yung inaasahan ng lahat, di ba? Hindi ko na lang inilatag dito na syempre old school tayo so Gen X tayo. Kaya nung araw ito baka mag-react ang mga bading ngayon sa henerasyon ngayon. Nung araw kasi yung bading ay sabi salot daw, salot ng bayan, salot sa pamilya, nakakahiya sa pamilya. So parang from yung mga sinasabi nila tungkol dun sa bading, parang mas na-challenge ako para patunayan ng sarili na meron akong pupuntahan, meron akong goal, meron akong ma-accomplish pagdating ng araw. So ito ngayon na-accomplish ko bilang high school graduate, kung saan man ako naroroon ngayon, abay pinagpapasalamat ko talaga.
The film stars Zandro Marudo and will hit theaters starting July 30th. And before we go, Byebye City may be the youngest among latest cities, but it sure is a destination worth your next stop. Here's a peek from Paulo Barcelon.
Who says mini versions of Baguio and Batanes can't exist in the Visayas? They actually do, in the city of Byebye. The Incredible Cafe is just one of 2 key mountain cafes in the city where diners can get a spectacular view of the mountains and warm up with a meal or a cup of coffee.
Long before, nakikita na ng mga locals dito that we have a beautiful area here on which we can see the Sea of Clouds. However, we do not have yet this establishment that we are in right now, like Incredible Cafe and Sky Cafe. And so, through the help of our local government unit and of course our Byebye Tourism, they were able to tap and coordinate on as to what can we do for the place.
Byebye City also has its famous boardwalk, where chicken barbecue and pancit are the best-selling dishes at its food stalls. Food tourism is also one of the strongest selling points of Byebye as a tourist destination. But the city is also known for its kamote and jackfruit chips, guilt-free delicacies that not only are a treat for snackers, they also help local farmers earn a living regardless if the crops are in season.
Sa kamote, we were able to produce according to the demand. Pero itong jackfruit, hindi namin kaya yung demand, no? Masyadong mataas. So, hindi dahil sa demand, saka may off-season kasi ang langka.
Byebye City also goes big on heritage tourism, with churches and historical places also on offer. And to cap off the day, breathtaking views also await visitors at the Lintaon Peak, with a view of the entire city and the surrounding ocean. 16,000 blooms also await visitors, and this makes for a destination perfect for the gram and for the memories. Compared to other tourist destinations in the Visayas, Leyte is still fairly new to most tourists as a potential tourist destination. However, the local government promises more improvements in terms of its infrastructure as well as promotions so that many more people can enjoy the beauty and say, "See you Leyte." In Byebye City, Paulo Barcelon, Billionario News Channel.
And those are the news this hour. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Stay with the Billionaire News Channel. Good afternoon.